all I recall is several people using the word Roswell, and that must be where the crash occurred then, and then they brought them to the other place. It looked like at an airport facility where there was like a rather good-sized building, a hangar, where they had the spaceship and where they had the bodies.
Was it an intact ship?
No, it was badly damaged.
Was there anything written on the ship?
No, not anything I saw, no. Not by the time I saw it.
Can you describe what it looked like? Did you touch the...
Yeah, they didn't let me do that, but the other people were permitted to do that because they were very curious about knowing what kind of materials they were. The body of the ship was... The body of the ship was what I would call today rather a reflective material, but when you looked at it and you were close to it, it was rather dull. So it had to be energetically reflective or translucent or glowing. And it was disc-shaped, and it was not too high. It was sort of concave, or convex.
How big was
it? Oh, gee, let me see. It was, I'm very bad at large room, and it was easily 1/4 the size of the room it was in.
Were you able to go inside?
No, I wanted to, but the others did go inside. Yeah, they went inside. I was not permitted to do that, not being one of the upper echelon. I was just one of the gophers, going for this, going for that. I was nobody. But they went inside. They also wanted to see the method of propulsion. They were interested to see. They wanted to see if they had any other types of control devices or communication devices, or what kind of even things they had for the journey. In other words, if they had come such a long distance, how were they able to do that, and so forth. What you and I would call food or respiratory gases, what did they use? They were very interested in identifying that.
Did it look like in...
Some of them told me, yes, and it's very much, oddly, like a lot of science fiction movies today. A lot of equipment, very trim, all along the perimeter. Things that would come up from the floor automatically, pods that would come out, things like that.
Can you tell us a little bit about the beings and communicator telepathic? What kind of information was given? Did they ask you anything, and did you ask them anything?
It was both ways. We asked them several questions, and they asked us several questions. Not myself individually, or me particularly, but the people I was with. They wanted to know. They wanted to know how long we lived. They wanted to know if there were some conditions that terminated what we call, quote unquote, our life. In other words, what you and I would consider diseases or stresses on our body to terminate our life. They asked, let me see if I can remember. Thought I'd never forget some of this. I don't know why my mind is so blank on some of these things. They asked a lot of the scientists what was their best system of going out into the atmosphere or going into the ocean, and how deeply we had penetrated galaxies, things like that. And of course they were very quick to let us know that we didn't know anything.
And,
they did not menace us or threaten us at all because they knew right away we were intellectually inferior and scientifically inferior.
Then how was it that they crashed? Was there any information about that? If they have such technology, how is it that...
Something had gone wrong, and that was one of the major things that we asked them. We asked them what they ate. We asked them what kind of gases they needed. We asked them about their life support, their origin. We asked them what they used for propulsion. We asked them what there was, things like that. And we asked them what they thought went wrong. And why they were, first of all, even coming here. Why did they come to visit us?
Do you remember what they said?
They're so obviously superior. Why would they want to come to Earth?
What did they say?
Well, this one indicated, at least telepathically, like they don't have a sex like we do, so I can't say he or she or something. It indicated that they were exploring intergalactic space, what we would call intergalactic space. He didn't call it that. Search a better source than where they were. They were running into a problem where they are from because of some physical condition, energy-wise. And they needed to go some other place. And so we took it that they were wanting to maybe colonize some other place. And they were finding that Earth was entirely unsuitable to them. And that's why they were, because they found out that we are not at their level at all, so they had nothing to fear from us.
A little bit. I think they would have a lot to fear. But they still didn't know what happened to their propulsion system that would have brought them down?
No, they didn't exactly know. They knew that it was a malfunction of something, but they didn't know. And in fact, one being just on the verge of trying to go with a couple engineers and scientists into it in more detail when he succumbed. It succumbed, and they couldn't bring him back.
Were they only one ship, or were they just there by themselves as a scout ship, or were there any others in the Armada?
They claimed there were 8. That was a Maverick that somehow lost position or something. I don't know whether it was a time warp or what, but they got out of the direction where the others were even going. And one ship, he claimed, crashed in Siberia in the same group. Of course, he didn't know what it was called, but we told him it's the United States.
Did he say where they were from and what star system? You said, and were they from this galaxy?
They indicated to us that they were not from our galaxy, definitely not from our galaxy. And the star system, the name was absolute gibberish to us. We didn't know what it meant.
Was that at that point in time? Do you have any knowledge whether we found that star system now?
So far as I know, we still have it unknown.
And how many people were around when you were there, or were there government people? Were there other scientists?
There were government people, there were military people, there were scientists, there were lower echelon people. There were many individuals about both men and women, many people.
How did you get from where you were with the scientist you were with to that point of where the ship...
And military vehicles to the site.
Were you interrogated at all before they allowed you to see this?
No, because I was just sort of in the background, and I was just, I had no positive, even fifth or sixth line interest in it or anything. I was just going to be assisting the scientist that I was with and part of his entourage, so to speak. and that's why I was there, and I was just permitted to be there.
How did you feel when you saw this and saw what was taking place?
Well, I was quite overwhelmed and awed. Real or fantasy, I wondered whether there was somebody playing a terrible untruth on us, and it's just that the people, there was such activity and behavior and interest on the part of people, I knew it was something serious. But otherwise, you'd think you were almost in part of some science fiction portrayal. I mean, you know, some set or something.
Did you have a security classification at that point in time, or they just let you in without any kind of...
We all had the security clearance.
Was that immediately before you went there, or had you had one when you were working with the science?
I had one when I was working with Einstein. And that security clearance was respected. The only reason we could go.
Is that security act, or did they deactivate it after?
It was immediately deactivated.
In the other experiences you've had, the other work you've done, did you ever have any other kinds of security clearances?
I've never had a necessity since to have a security clearance. No. I had a paper passed by the government on the ultimate structure of matter and National Academy of Science, but I have had no security clearance.
Do you remember what they called that clearance that you had? Did they name it for you?
I don't even recall that except I'd have to look that up. I don't know whether I even have a note on that.
The program that you're working on with Einstein, was it funded by the government or was it a university grant?
Grant to him at that university at that time to have outstanding students from around the country picked to work with him that particular summer in nuclear chemistry.
Did you have a title that was given to you while you worked there?
Special student.
Did he take any other students with him?
No, I was the only student.
Lucky you. Come on.
I was his pet, I have to admit that. I was. I have to admit that. There were 29 and summer.
Were you there
the only girl either.
When the last alien died? Were you there at that point in time?
No, I wasn't. I was back at the motel in a city nearby, and I had been told, and I would be able to keep the being alive.
How many were there originally?
9. I saw 9. 8 bodies, and then later we communicated with that one, so there were 9.
And can you describe what they were?
Oh, I sure can. I remember that very well. They were a very light, soft, gray, I'd call it grayish green, really. And they had a slim, lean, they had no nose, but they had markings where a nose opening would be. They had eyes and a mouth, no eyebrows. They had ears. They had a very forehead, and I'd say relative to the rest of their body. And the ones that I saw were approximately maybe 5 feet tall, 5 feet 5, something like that. They're small by what a man ordered on Earth.
What did their eyes look like?
Their eyes were enormous. They were very prominent. They were the most obvious thing you'd see on their face.
Were there any pupils?
I noticed, but I never saw any pupils.
What color were they?
They were almost brown-black. They were very, very dark.
Were they all the same color in terms of the...
Oh, yes. Uh-huh.
Did they have any kind of clothing on?
Yes, they had suits on.
What did they look like?
Very much toward like what we call suits. The only thing was, though, that I didn't recognize the fabric. It didn't look like any fabric that I would know as a chemist, or even today that I would recognize.
Were there any kind of fasteners?
Buttons or zippers or ties or something? No, I didn't see any.
What about their shoes?
Their shoes were all, looked like they were connected. They were in one piece. And their hands, their limbs were covered, you know, right down to what we would call the wrist.
What color was it, and did it was it any kind of trim?
You mean the suit itself? Oh, it had like an insignia on it.
What did the insignia look like?
Gee, I'd have to draw it for you. It looked like a...
Yeah.
I'm not an artist, but it looked like something like this. I didn't know what it meant.
The insignia.
The insignia was almost in the middle of the garment. It wasn't off on the side like we would expect it to be.
Did they need any special breathing apparatuses, or did they appear to be breathing on their own?
And that was one of the amazing things that we were startled about, where they could apparently survive in our atmosphere, and they had apparently come such a long way.
Did they seem to indicate that the atmosphere is similar to ours, their breathing?
They asked us about that, and we asked them about it. Yes, they seemed to indicate, yes, that it was quite similar. It was not identical to ours, though, because they claimed they had made tests.
Did they tell you anything about of their lifestyle was there?
We tried to find that out, and before we could, they really, we were very interested in not antagonizing them at all, so not to the point where we had them answer too many of ours, so we never really found that out. We just knew that they don't live all above ground, according to what they told us. A lot of theirs, what we would call subterranean.
Did they seem repelled by our appearance since they look so different?
Oh, they thought we were very odd.
Since you indicated that they were either androgynous or had no sex, did they mention how they procreated?
That was another thing which we asked them about, and we couldn't pin down either, but no, they indicated that they had this like we have at all.
Did they tell you how they reproduced? Did they refuse, or they just, nobody probed them?
No, really that.
So they really were kind of limited in what they felt was appropriate to tell you?
I would say so, yes. I would say they were very careful what they revealed. Mm-hmm.
Did it seem like they wanted to have any kind of continual contact with this planet?
Very definitely, yes. However, they had already almost discounted this as a desirable place to come.